Chapter 1. It seemed as if the road was stretching ahead of them endlessly. The air was heavy with the humidity of summer, and the relentless sun rays pounding onto the windshield didn't prevent Dan and Malu from enjoying their drive back to their home in Davie. They were returning from visiting their son, Stefano, who was a junior at the University of Florida in Gainesville. Parting from him again was difficult, but after seeing how happy he was and acknowledging the fact that their son was becoming his own man now, Malu and Dan were delighted with the 2 days they had spent with him. At 22, Stefano not only looked like his father, but had his determined character trait, and his hard work at school mirrored Dan's attitude towards life perfectly. Stefano, in his 3rd year of university, had already made the dean's list, to the pride of his parents. Mind you, his stubbornness accounted for a lot of his progress or success in everything he did, just like his dad. As for Malu, a very alluring woman in her late 40s, she was a fantastic mother, her whole world revolving around her home, her children, and her husband. Although known for being disorganized, she managed to keep the family home immaculate and its surroundings pleasant to the eye. "How about we take Highway 27 down to Okeechobee Lake instead of the other way?" Dan asked Malu as soon as they passed the turnoff near Orlando. She turned her lovely face to him. "Feeling adventurous, are you?" Her black, silky hair seemed to be dancing on the curls cascading down to her shoulders. "Something like that, yes," Dan replied, throwing her a smile full of mischief. Nearly 50 by then, Dan had kept his adolescent face and muscular stature in check. There was no denying the fact that Dan was a handsome man. His piercing and intelligent gaze complemented the gentle but square jawline without highlighting the decisiveness that lied just below the surface of his manners. "Besides, we have time, nothing waiting for us at home, and I'd like to see if we could find a nice little place to have dinner." "Wow, where does that come from? Don't you like my cooking any more?" Malu asked, all tease. He threw her another brief smile. "You know I love your cooking, but I think you deserve to be treated to a summer night at the terrace of a nice ristorante. But hun, this isn't Italy, you know. Where are you going to find a ristorante around here, you think?" "We'll see. Maybe we'll be surprised, and if not, we'll go home and have one of your wonderful lasagnas. How's that?" Highway 27 afforded the travellers with gorgeous scenery of the Everglades and sugar plantations, which reminded the couple of their lives in Pennsylvania, where their home was up on a hill, and where their kids enjoyed sleigh rides during winter and hay rides during fall. The sugar plantations that stretched to the horizon were very similar to the corn plantations they remembered in the days they lived in Bethlehem. The afternoon drive was nothing short of glorious. As soon as they veered off and took the road that skirted Okeechobee Lake, Dan slowed the car down to a speed that allowed them to take a peek at the lake stretching in the distance beside the highway. This piece of water, seemingly plopped in the middle of the Everglades, was the host of numerous birds and all kinds of aquatic life. Its freshness provided a welcome relief to the searing heat of the day. Dan and Malu couldn't stop smiling for some reason. The landscape was simply peaceful and inexplicably tranquil. After driving for a while, they arrived in Pahokee. Bordering the lake, this tiny town community featured many seemingly abandoned houses, a small marina, and a very old hotel called Chippewa Inn, standing along a dirt and gravel track-like road, its rusted sign swinging lazily above the door. In front of it there were some locals drinking beer in the middle of the afternoon, children riding their bicycles, and a black cat with a white patch atop its head was lying on the sill of a dirty window that seemed as if no one had cleaned it in decades. Above it there was a sign in neon lights that said, "Vacancy." They stopped in front of it and decided to take a stroll around the town, curious to visit St. Mary's Church they had seen nestled among shrubbery and tall palms going down Main Street. Looking up at the hotel sign, Dan said, "You know, hun, I've read somewhere, something along the Chippewa legend." "Oh yeah, and what did it say?" "The Indians around here believed that night was full of good and bad dreams. When a dream catcher was hung above the place where you slept, it would move freely in the night air and catch the dreams as they drifted by. They said that the good dreams, knowing their way, passed through the opening in the centre of the web, while the bad dreams, not knowing the way, were caught in it and destroyed at first light." "So you think they've got a woven web of some kind hanging over the beds in here?" Malu asked, visibly horrified at the thought. Dan laughed, imagining a gigantic web stretched over their bed. "That would be scary, you're right." He grimaced, and his face suddenly contorting into a fierce, devilish mask, he growled, "Come to my parlour," said the spider to the fly, and burst out in more laughter. "You're impossible, Dan, and please don't scare me like that. I'd be sure to dream of being caught in a spider web tonight." "Sorry, hun, but it might be interesting to see if they've got some small webbing displayed in the hotel. Do you want to go in?" "No, not really." Malou stopped talking suddenly, her gaze arrested on an old Seminole Indian with sad-looking eyes who sat quietly beside the hotel's entrance, carving a figure with a small knife, a sign that read $5 per person, swiveled on some sort of easel standing next to him. The sign appeared to be as old as the man, the lettering faded with age. It looked like the Indian charged the same price today for whatever service he was offering years ago. The wind moved the sign rhythmically, but Dan and Malou couldn't stop staring at it, and at a group of scenery paintings from different parts of the US leaning against the wall beside his chair. Curious as ever, Malou and Dan approached the Indian, who was singing in his native language. "Excuse me, sir. We could not stop admiring your display, and would like to know what you are offering." Smiling up at them, the old man explained in English, laced of a strong American Indian accent, that he was offering a dream journey of their choice. "You will select the scenery painting that best describes the time and location you lived at the time you want to go, and I will help your imagination take you there." Being a realistic man and college-educated, it was hard for Dan to believe it would be possible, but he thought it would be an interesting experience, even if nothing of it came true. Besides, $5 could barely buy you a gallon of gas these days, he mused. So he asked Malou, "Do you want to try?" Very reluctant, since she left such thing was a waste of money and probably a scam, she only gave in to her sense of charity. For some reason, she wanted to help the old man. The Indian fellow then proceeded to explain that once they selected a picture that best described the time and place where they wanted their imagination to take them, he would give them instruction on what to do next. "Now, once you're ready," he went on, "you both must hold each other's hands and walk towards the painting together to allow the journey to begin. And once you are on the other side, you must do the same. On the other side, there is no painting. You must remember the spot where you both arrived, so you could reverse the journey." And again he repeated his warning that Malou and Dan needed to pick the same spot to return, since it was the only way back. "The duration of your dream will only last 7 days, but your present time will start where you left off, so you will still be able to come back here at the same time you left." Then he also mentioned that once they came back, they could never go back to that time and location ever. And finally he warned them, "If you stay longer, you will never be able to return again, and both your past and future lives will forever vanish." Everything sounded a bit sci-fi to Dan, and extremely weird to Malou, yet they had plenty of time, and it wasn't like they were in a rush to get home. "Okay, let's do it, Malou," Dan said, pulling his wallet out of his front pocket. "Well," Malou was still hesitant, "if you're sure, I guess I'll go along with it." They paid the old man his fee, which he pocketed before standing up and opening a box that he pulled out from under his chair. Under Malou and Dan's puzzled faces, the old Indian then took out 2 necklaces out of the metal box and put the leather strap around each of their necks, on which hung an amulet carved in wood that he called a dream catcher. "Looks much nicer than your spiderweb," Malou remarked, giggling at Dan. Obviously handmade with gorgeous detailed work, the amulet was so intricate and even delicate to the touch that Dan couldn't stop admiring it. "Did you see how much details it's got?" he asked, turning to Malou but still peering down to the amulet. "Very nice, isn't it?" Malou agreed, passing her fingers over her own pendant. If nothing else, $5 for this was well worth the price. She raised her eyes to her husband. He took her face in his hands and kissed her lightly on the lips. "I love you, Malou," he said, before releasing her and turning to the old Indian once again. Smiling at the both of them, he gave them one last warning advice. "Do not lose the amulets, and wear them always in order to deter evil. Without them," he said, "you can never come back." Since Dan had seen these amulets before, but had no clue what they were for, he asked, "Can you tell us what they do? I mean, do they have power over evil then?" The old man looked up at Dan and frowned. "Yes. They catch bad dreams while good dreams are allowed to pass through, but this is not your ordinary dream catcher, since you will be wearing it, and you are not to even lose it if you want your soul to remain pure of bad evil. You must not lose it. And if you come back without it, very bad dreams will happen to you and your family." Dan looked at Malou with a grin on his face. He really wanted a laugh, but this was worse than envisioning the spiderweb over their bed. But by respect for the old man, he maintained his composure and went along with him. At this point, Malou and Dan were ready, hand in hand. They walked towards a painting that best depicted their lives 13 years ago.